The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to today's CAS Inspire webinar called Simple, Powerful and Free, Get to Grips with Sonic Pi. My name is Will Franklin and I'm the host for today's session. I'm also joined by my colleague Wendy Piccinini, who will be moderating today's session and bringing your questions to Sarah, who is hosting today. During the session, please use the question window on the right-hand side of your screen to ask questions. All attendees are in listen-only mode. If you're using social media, the hashtag for the event is hashtag CAS Inspire. So without further ado, let me introduce Sarah. She is a primary school teacher of over 20 years who has always had a passion for computing. She now works as a community outreach manager for computing at school, increasing teacher support networks in computing in the Northeast. In addition to this, she also works for the DFE-funded National Centre for Computing Education, promoting and providing guidance to teachers on the computing CPD courses and fully funded bespoke support available to their schools, and also facilitate some of their primary computing CPD courses. So, Sarah, over to you.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for that. Hopefully I'm going to be able to share my screen now. Pressure's on. Can't say anything. That's not good. There we go. Hey, thanks, Will. Thanks for that lovely introduction of all my different hats that I wear. So welcome. Today we're going to be talking about Sonic Pi. Just to add, in my introduction there, I am a primary school teacher. I've worked a long time in primary doing computing, and I absolutely love Sonic Pi. That's why I've come today to sort of share how I've used Sonic Pi in primary schools. Okay, so let's just start. Here we go. So what is Sonic Pi? And like it says there, so it's free software. It's available for the Raspberry Pi for Windows and Mac, and it uses a programming language called Ruby to create music. So it's a text-based programming language. So you'll see in the next slides what that looks like. It does meet the requirements of the Key Stage 2 computing program of study as well. It was inspired, it was created, not even inspired, it was created by a guy called Sam Aaron. I've just put, you'll get these slides afterwards, I've put a link to a YouTube video of Sam performing live, really, his Sonic Pi, the programming software. So Sam has actually done live coding with Sonic Pi across Europe. He's really inspirational. He's done TED Talks and all sorts. I was originally working with the Raspberry Pi Foundation, and like I say, he developed this himself. I've just put a YouTube video there, but you can actually just search for Sam Aaron Sonic Pi and find out more about him. He does have a Twitter handle as well, and obviously there's @SonicPi. So it was inspired and created by Sam originally. In terms of curriculum requirements, so everything that I do, anything I talk about, so any programs that I've used with children, always need to come back to the national curriculum. Now you can, if anybody's here from secondary, you can absolutely use this in Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4, and I have used it in Key Stage 3, but it also fulfills some of the programming objectives from the Key Stage 2 national curriculum. So we've got designing, writing and debugging programs, we've got solving problems, we've got sequence and selection and repetition in there. We can work with variables in Sonic Pi, and obviously the third one, using logical reasoning to explain how simple algorithms work. The national curriculum for computing in Key Stage 2 does not say there's no requirement to use a text-based programming language, and you absolutely don't have to. So it recommends using block coding, but I feel in my years of doing this that children can access this. I have used it actually down in year 3 upwards, because it's very, very simple. You'll see it's only words. I think the only thing they need to be able to do is read. I suppose we've just got quite simple words, but I probably would recommend using it in 5 and 6 if children have done quite a lot of block-based coding. So everything all the resources and things you can find on the website. I've just put the website URL there. So you've got things like how to download it, So you can, like it says, you can download it on Windows, on the Mac. I originally used it on the Raspberry Pi actually, but you don't, although it does say Sonic Pi and you feel like it may be just linked to the Raspberry Pi, it's not. You can use it on all of those systems really, but you know, like it says, you can use it on the Raspberry Pi. It's free to download. It is quite a big download as well. So just to bear that in mind if you're getting your technician to download it onto all the computers. Okay, so some of the other things that are on the website there, we've got a scheme of work on there. It is Key Stage 3, so I've adapted it for Key Stage 2. I haven't written a scheme of work, I've just adapted some activities to use down in Key Stage 2, but it does have a Key Stage 3 scheme of work there. And there's a introduction for teachers on the website as well, and some other stuff for Music Live code in there as well. That's just at the top of the website. So this is what it looks like. This is what your editor looks like when you've downloaded it, and all the children have got it on the screen. So you've got on the left-hand side, that's where you type all your code. On the right-hand side, it tells you whether your code is working, and then you've got a really, really good set of help files down at the bottom as well. Towards the top, as you can see, you've got just different coloured menus there. So we've got running and stopping the code. You can change the size of the font as well, so that, you know, maybe that you want it a bit bigger so you can see it better. You've also got preferences there. If you do download this onto your network at school, I definitely would recommend going into preferences. In fact, if you doing it first before you actually do it with the children, go into preferences and just make sure that the children can actually, if they plug on their headphones, they can actually hear something. I'll just show you what to do for that test code in a bit, but preferences is where it's all happening. You know, to make sure that you've chosen headphones and things. So make sure you do have a go in preferences. Have I missed anything out there? No, I don't think so. Right, okay. So what I do when I do this as a lesson, and you know, this is Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 3, it doesn't really matter, is we type in just play 75, or play a number really, but 75 is quite nice. Play 75 into there, and then we run it. And it's a really good way of just testing that the children's headphones are working. So just get them to do that. It'll just play one note. I can't remember which note it is on a piano keyboard, but it'll just play one note. Then I get the children to type in some more play commands and just change the numbers for the notes, and then just ask them what's happening. So the children will get back to you and say it's just playing one note at the same time. Hopefully, one of the children will tell you that we need to put something in between the plays so that they play separately. Like I say, this is really the first bit of it, is just to make sure that those children's headphones are working for the lesson. Okay, so once we've done that, very quickly, so we've worked out that we need to have some kind of delay between those plays. The command in Ruby that we use in Sonic Pi is just sleep there. So I get the children quite quickly to put some sleeps in between the plays that they've done. I'll start with 0.5. They can play around with the sleeps, just, you know, so they can see that it actually changes the length of the note. So very quickly, I just do that. So some plays and some sleeps, we all do that together. Once I've done that, then we just do a little bit of changing things on those plays and sleeps. So I use the use synth. So the use underscore synth command, I just get the children to put it at the very top of their lines of code. If they type it in, they just type in use underscore synth, press space bar, and loads of different types of sound come up so that they can use. So there's just super soul there, but I think there's bells and all sorts of different things. So it just changes the sound of the notes. So it's not just like just a beep sound, if you like. It changes the sound, just keeping the children going with what they can do. And also they're having quite a lot of success to begin with, which is what we want with programming. We want something happening quite quick straight away. So plays, sleeps, then using synth at the start. Okay, once I've done that, and then there's lots of different things that you can do. But what I do like the children, what children do like, is if it's quite bespoke to them, what they're actually going to create. So there's I go to musicnotes.com, so a website with loads of sheet music on it. And in there, if you type in beginner's notes or beginner's piano, like I've done in there in the search bar, you can find lots of popular pieces of music. For me, I've just got the children, my year sixes. We put it up on the screen and I said they could choose whichever one they wanted. So we've got things, I'm just trying, a lot of the children wanted to do Star Wars, but you've got Toy Story pieces of music in there. You've got A Friend of Me. I don't do too many of them, but probably about 5 different ones really. But it just means they've got a little bit of ownership about what they're going to do, what they're going to program. Once you've chosen it, really, and this is just an option, when you download it, the sheet music, so you don't have to be a music specialist to do this, and there will be children in your class who probably can read music, and maybe you could link it into your music lesson as well, but you don't have to be able to read music because you've chosen the beginner's notes or the beginner's piano sheets of music, and it comes out like this. So it's actually got the letters of the notes on the notes really, so they don't have to be able to read the music. So you can see here for Star Wars, we've just got 3 Ds, then a G, then a D, C, B, A, that kind of thing. So it comes out like this. I have to say, you do have to pay for the sheet music on musicnotes.com, but I think it's only about £2.40 for a piece that looks like this with the notes on. So it is worth the money for the children. So once they've got that, they've chosen their piece of music, they've got the notes on there. Then what I get the children to do is think about to do some plays and sleeps for those notes really. So it would be 3 plays for those Ds, and then a G and a D. They're all the plays, and then they'll have sleeps in between. And it'll sound quite boring, I suppose. All the notes will sound the same to begin with, and I'll show you what to do to change the length of the notes. I also give them this. It's a conversion grid, really. So if you just look there, if I just look at those, we've got 3 Ds at the beginning. We can go to our conversion grid here. We look at D. We'll go right along to the middle where the bold ones are, and we know that the number is going to be 62. So the children would just put play 62. If I just show you there, it would be play 62, play 62, and play 62. If I was looking for the G, which is the next one, I just go and look at the bold numbers, go across. It's really good. It's like a multiplication grid. And they know it's 67, so that would be a play 67. So they're already getting a list of plays, and it'll sound like that piece of music. And then in between their plays, they need to have some sleeps in there. And again, I give them this. So this is like just a help sheet thing, I suppose. And depending on what it looks like, so I'll just go back to there. So those Ds there are just little black ones with flicky bits on, if you like. They're actually called quavers, but so if I just go here, and I can just look, I've got something black there with a flicky bit on it, and we've got, they're actually the 0.25 ones. I've just picked a terrible example there. I'll just go back. So if we just look at G there, the 4th one along, it's a white note. So if I go along to here, I look at the white ones, and it's a sleep 2. So already getting the hang of changing the sleeps depending on what it says on that piece of sheet music. It sounds more complicated than it is, and it's not really. So they start to, if I just go back to that, they're going to have the Star Wars piece of music. They'll have coded it just using plays and sleeps. And then they can use a different tone. They can use a different the synth to make it sound a bit more interesting. Okay, so just whizzing through that. Okay, there we go. Then they can start thinking about the computing objectives for Key Stage 2 in there. So they've got their very basic piece of, say, Star Wars music, and they can start to remix it, really. So they can start using repetition in here. So down there you can see it says use synth, and then it's got 3 times do. That just means repeat it 3 times. On the one on the right hand side, you've got loop do. That means just repeat it forever. And already they're starting to think about sort of creating their own piece of music. So a bit of repetition, very year 4, I suppose, in there. They can add more effects in there. I know I've talked about the synth before, but you can add effects with the with_FX. So there, so we can have, there we've got use a synth, then we've got with FX wobble. So they can start changing it as well, a bit of different sounds, a bit of effects in there. There's loads you can do. All this is in the help section at the bottom. Thinking about year 6, they can start creating variables in there. And it just shows you, so you can name things really. So you could have, you know, every time I put C3, it means 60. So if you wanted to stick to the letters of the notes, you can use variables. You can do functions if you really wanted to stretch your year 6s and have it like I suppose like choruses and verses. So you could have one that's, you know, define the chorus and then a load of notes for that, and then define the verse. And then you could play them all together. You could just, like it says at the bottom, just play every night. So you've got quite a bit of challenge in there. You can use threads in there as well, and that's just for 2 pieces of music playing at the same time. So you can have the drums going and a melody at the same time. Okay, so what next for you really, because that was a complete whistle stop tour. Download Sonic Pi, let the children tinker with it. Use the website musicnotes.com to find some music. You can also, I've just put that in as an example there. You can also go to Code Club as well. Code Club projects, I've put the link in there. And they've got some Sonic Pi projects if you wanted to do something a little bit simpler. Obviously with Code Club, you can just follow the tutorials. Quite nice creating your own doorbell chime. My children love the drum loop, so they can, you know, they can create their own drum loop, and then they could do some melody to go with it. You've got special effects there. That's quite nice to create special effects for a film. And that's just an example of the drum one from the Code Club site. There's also another site, I think it's Me Hack It, I suppose it's called. Again, you know, it's got some tutorials in there, probably more for sort of challenging the year 6s, but I've put that in there as well for you. And that comes with some Sonic Pi commands that you can use. There's quite a lot in there. You can do if, then, and else's as well for selection for year 5. And then finally, Sam has written a book, a free Sonic Pi book, and you can download that as a PDF. And you can, the children, you know, once they've got the sort of basic idea, then it gives them some more challenges of things that they can do as well. And that's it for Sonic Pi. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. So we've got a couple of questions. The first one is from Josie, and the question is, according to your experience, since it isn't a block programming language, what would you say is the best age to start Sonic Pi with children?
So I would say it just depends how much programming your children have done. So they've done quite a lot of Scratch, and they've done Scratch in 3, 4, 5 and 6, and they've done other things like Kodu, and they've done all that block based. Then year 5 or year 6 really is fine. It all depends on you. I'd still probably have block coding for 1 unit and then do a little bit of this in at another time in the year. So it depends on your children. Everything depends on your children. Like I say, I have done it with year 3s, and they are capable of doing it, but I think I'd leave it to 5 and 6, especially if you're going to start looking at variables and selection as well, obviously.
So children sort of age 10 and 11,
I think
that's
so, yeah.
age, yeah, who've had some experience as well with it.
Yeah.
Good question. Just a question about how the slides can be downloaded. So the people watching obviously are very interested. It was a whistle stop tour, as you said. So yeah, a lot of information to kind of take in. Yeah. Yes, you can download the slides. They're not attached as a handout, but they will be available. So we will get those sent out to you from our events manager. So yeah, she'll follow up with that. So that answers your question. And one more question is, you mentioned using headphones. do you recommend any particular headphones to use when programming with Sonic Pi, as it's a music app?
Yeah, and having all the children sort of making their lovely tunes all at the same time isn't wonderful in a classroom, as Will will probably tell you in his primary classroom. So what I've done really with people always ask me about headphones, and over the years I've tested loads of headphones. To be honest, I have to say I buy my headphones from Poundland, so the over the ear ones I get from Poundland, and then I say to the children they can bring in their own. So as long as they're in ear ones and not AirPods, obviously. And actually, you know, for those, because you can get those in Poundland for £1. They love it. They love being able to bring their own headphones in. It's very hygienic, and they can just plug theirs in. And then if anybody hasn't got them, I've just got the Poundland over the ear ones just to keep them hygienic. But yeah, just in ear ones for them, and it's exciting for them, isn't it, on their computing day that they can just bring in their own headphones. So that's what I would recommend. I've had so many experiences with expensive headphones, and they never last. So I'm just all for cheap.
Yeah, it's a really good tip, that is. Okay, back over to you, Will.
You say that just as I close down my script. Accidentally. Okay, I can ad lib. Wendy, if you would just want to mention what's coming up while I find my script again.
Yes, I can tell you what's coming up in the CAS Inspire program, because it's just in front of me. Bear with me, because I've got my paper copy here. But yeah, next Wednesday in the primary section, we've got top tips for making your computing lessons greener. And this is a chance to find out about what's just recently come out new from Barefoot Computing, and they've been doing they produced a set of resources to do with climate control, and these are brilliant. And just to read the blurb, really, John Chip's going to be leading that session, and we've got Ben Davies, who was part of the pilot. And if you want to run a climate change campaign in your school, then you come along and find out about these fantastic resources. You'll be able to hear from a school, as I say, from a guy who's actually used them, how they work in practice. And also you'll be able to find out about some recent articles which have ideas for where you can talk to your children in your classes about climate change. Because obviously it's very topical at the moment with what's happening with the big event in Glasgow. So yeah, lots of interesting sessions coming up. That's one of them. We've also got, there's another question that's just come in. So I think we're doing okay for time. Yes. This says, I am currently teaching Scratch to intellectually disabled people. Do you think Sonic Pi could be explained after pupils have some experience in Scratch? So in other words, is it a good kind of follow-on? Is it a sort of a natural follow-on, and would that work well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I do. If it was me, I'd probably have some of the Sonic Pi commands maybe printed out, laminated, and then get the children sort of, you know, organizing, sequencing them that way before they actually go into the program. Perhaps as long as children can read, they're fine with that, because you've just got sequencing. So they're doing sequencing in Scratch anyway. You've got repetition in there. So maybe you do the stuff in Scratch first, and then do it in Sonic Pi afterwards, so they understand repetition and selection and things like that. So yeah, I think so.
Can I just do a plug there for just jogged my memory with that question, that we have a CAS chat on a Tuesday evening from 8 till 9, which takes place on Twitter. And coming up this Tuesday, we have our working group CAS Include, which is obviously all about inclusion and diversity. And we'll be looking and delving deeper into the issues and the challenges and the solutions for people with special educational needs, particularly with computing in mind. So do join that discussion. And we also have an event coming up later on this month called Hack the Curriculum. So I'm just plugging that while we've been talking about these things. So you may be interested in those as well.
Brilliant. I've just put in the chat. Hopefully everybody's got it there, the slides. That's even quicker for you than waiting for it, it to come. So I've just shared those with you. So, and like I've just said, any questions about it, because I love it, I'll just put my email in there for anybody who wants to get in touch as well.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sarah.
Perfect. And I've now found my script. So if we're ready, I'll close us out. So thank you, everybody who's joined us today. Please, can we encourage you to share your personal highlights from today's session or anything you get up to with Sonic Pi in the near future on social media, and tag us with hashtag CAS Inspire. We'd love to see what you get up to. At the end of this webinar, there'll be a short survey which will appear on your screen, and we'd be very grateful if you could take a minute to complete that for us. Please continue to spread the word about CAS Inspire as it's going on throughout the year. We're hosting further sessions, and we've just heard about a few, but we're carrying on all the way into 2022, which is nearly here. Please join us next Wednesday at 4 o'clock for our next one. We have primary and secondary sessions, so do please let your colleagues know if you know anyone in different phases. Lots of different topics covered. Thank you for joining, and we hope to see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.